doux parfum d'hiver au plaisir rafraîchissant du printemps, en passant par l'abondance de couleurs de l'été et la grande finale de l'automne, c'est avec plaisir que nous vous offrons de découvrir une forme d'art tout à fait unique, l'art botanique. Allons donc en apprendre un peu plus grâce à Catherine Bocage sur un site historique national du Canada, Butchart Gardens.
Nous sommes présentement au Butchart Gardens, l'un des premiers jardins d'exposition florale au monde. Créés il y a plus de 100 ans, ces jardins sont reconnus comme étant un site historique national du Canada. Sa renommée internationale attire plus d'1 million de visiteurs chaque année qui viennent admirer les quelques 700 variétés de fleurs et de plantes différentes. Nous vous ferons donc découvrir aujourd'hui les secrets de ce paradis floral.
Well, Mrs. Butchart was actually the first real designer. I mean, it was her project right from the start, her vision, and she actually brought in other landscape architects from different parts of the country and actually different parts of the world. And once the limestone was exhausted from the main quarry here, rather than leave the ugly scars in the ground that the quarry did, she wanted to put beauty back into it.
Well, the gardens are divided into a number of separate garden areas. They kind of call it a Edwardian theme. So the garden that we're standing in now is our showpiece, our signature garden. And it's a reclaimed quarry. It's called the Sunken Garden. We have an Italian garden, a rose garden, a Japanese garden, and then there's all kinds of interconnecting gardens that kind of bring the whole package together.
Par ailleurs, chaque saison est une fresque unique. Elles inspirent les créateurs des jardins à former des agencements de couleurs qui donnent un cachet artistique à Butchart Gardens, peu importe le moment de l'année.
Now in springtime, it's the bulbs. The tulips are amazing. Before that, we have daffodils and hyacinths and the fruit trees right now, the flowering crab apples and cherries, they're amazing. So right now, springtime, you get shrubs, trees, and the bulbs. Summer, you get the roses, very amazing collection of roses here. That's a unique to summer theme, as well as perennial borders. And the perennial borders are coming up now, but there's not a lot of color, but they start dominating the summer garden. And in the fall, we have amazing fall color. So then we rely on a lot of the trees and shrubs that provide us with fall color. And we also plant all kinds of chrysanthemums. So tens of thousands of chrysanthemums get planted in September, and that carries us through into late fall. So in wintertime, around Christmas, there's not a lot of color in the gardens, but we do get things like pansies blooming, polyanthus. Coming up in January, we already start having bulbs coming up, things like snowdrops, crocus later in January. So the beauty of the West Coast is that spring actually starts for us early in the new year, and it just slowly builds and builds. So actually by the time we hit mid-March, there is an awful lot of color in the garden.
De plus, tel un peintre peignant sa toile, le choix des couleurs et des fleurs et leur emplacement spécifique sont très soigneusement réfléchis pour permettre de faire ressortir les qualités et la richesse des coloris de chaque plante.
The biggest thing for us is when visitors come here, they're expecting amazing color. So what we try to do is get color throughout the gardens as much as we can throughout the year. So we're designing for that. We design for a wow factor when people come and they take a look at the gardens. Around every corner, we expect them to say, wow, that's amazing. So color is a big part of what we do.
Well, there's a lot of pride here, a lot of pride, and it's still family owned. It's now ran by the great-granddaughter of Mr. and Mrs. Butchart, and I think that's what carries it through. You're part of the family when you work here.
And we have a few different flowers that we're somewhat known for. One of them is just starting to bloom now, and that's the blue poppy. We also have a Jenny Butchart tulip, which we had developed for our 100th anniversary in 2004. So that's representative of us as well. And I guess our trademark, what you will see on all our advertising, is a red rose. So we also have a Jenny Butchart rose, which you can find in our rose garden.
Going right back to Mrs. Butchart, she was very artistic. She had actually won a scholarship to go to Paris to continue in art studies, but she turned that down to marry Mr. Butchart instead, so we're really glad she did that. So she started off here with an artistic view, and it's just continued right through. You know, the choice of colors, the combinations of colors, the structures. Yeah, very artistic.
Butchart Gardens a vraiment gardé au fil des générations ses caractéristiques d'origine qui lui procurent une valeur artistique notable et qui lui ont ainsi permis d'acquérir le titre de site historique national du patrimoine canadien.
every garden has an artistic value, and I think the beauty of any garden is that it continually changes. So every day it has a different value, it has a different look. So it flows throughout the year, changes throughout the year. I think as a garden in Canada, we are definitely one of the garden icons.
Pour conclure, Butchart Gardens impressionne par ses différents jardins et par sa grande diversité de fleurs et de plantes. Il a su garder la vision première de Jenny Butchart et respecter le style que celle-ci avait donné à ses jardins. C'est donc un lieu incontournable lorsqu'on visite la Colombie-Britannique. Que ce soit le printemps, l'été, l'automne ou l'hiver, Butchart Gardens vous en fera voir de toutes les couleurs. C'était Catherine Bocage pour carnivore.tv.